Good morning and welcome to this morning's episode of the Amateur in the Morning. I am your host, the Forex Amateur. So today is Friday, the 8th of January, a very big day in the trading week, and as well as for all the Forex traders or commodities traders or whatever it is, today is non-farm payroll. So just to highlight a few things before I get into it. As I always say, on a Friday, the best thing to do is to either not trade at all, right? Or to take the highest possibility or highest probability trades on a Friday. The last thing you want to do is take unwarranted risks and lose any of the gains that you've made during the course of the week, or make bigger losses than you've already made for the week itself. So ensure that you trade carefully for the day. Like I said, it is non-farm payroll today as well. So if you're a currency trader, then that's just something that you need to look out for, right? So just tread carefully in terms of that. So as you know, on these episodes every morning, I simply like to go through my view of the dollar index futures, the NASDAQ equity, and a few of the synthetic indices from my watch list of indices that I do trade. Sorry about that. So before I get into it, let me throw in my little disclaimer. Remember, I'm not qualified to offer financial, investment, or trading advice. Everything I speak about on these episodes is purely my own opinion. I do not recommend any specific trade or action. So if you do take any trades, remember you need to do your own analysis and don't risk cash that you are not willing to lose, because the truth is you could lose your entire investment. So let's just get straight into the order of business for this morning. Let's talk about the dollar index really quickly. Um, Looking at the dollar index on the daily chart. So we did speak about bullishness on the dollar index yesterday, coming back into this bit of a pink level that I've drawn in here. You might be asking, Ryan, why is your level pink? Well, I'm embracing my feminine side. Let's just put it that way. It's also very easy on the eyes. Because I spend so much time looking at charts, I tend to have some problems with my eyes as well. So the colors that I pick are purely just to take it a bit easier on my eyes. But anyway, let's talk about it a bit more in detail. So we spoke about this pull back into this area yesterday, right? If we drop down to the 4-hour chart, we did speak about this specific level in here, and I said that we'd most likely get the push up from here. But if price does come a bit lower, then I would expect it to respect this low, right? As you can see, it pullback created a higher low here on the H4 time frame, and it has traded up from that level. So my thing for today is that we should expect further bullishness in this market for the day, right? Just have to be a bit wary of the news that will be coming out in terms of the non-farm payroll. But overall, looking at the technicals, as you can see, we have created some sort of a double bottom type of thing here, right? Or head and shoulders, you can call it that if you'd like. We've broken structure to the upside. So we've broken the structure in here, right? Let me just grab a pen. All right, so firstly, we've broken the structure, and then now we've broken the structure. So we're currently in a bit of a bullish channel that you can see going on in here. So you should expect price to sort of do something like that before it gives us further bearishness to the downside. That does tie in very well with this weekly level that I had highlighted in here, where I said I did expect price to come back into there before it gives us any further downside, right? So let's go back to the daily time frame and look at it from a correlated view. You can see that we've got the structure down in here. We have no break of structure on the daily time frame, but just in keeping with what we're seeing on the lower time frames, I would expect to see that bullishness continue into around this level in here. And obviously, you know, the non-farm payroll numbers will most likely come out negative. So that would also support a further downside on the dollar for the day, right? Perhaps later on in the evening, or perhaps we might even only see the effects of the numbers come out in next week's prices, right? So just be very careful with that. Let's just have a look at the 1 hour time frame to see if we've got any significant structure that we can work off from here. So looking at the 1 hour time frame, we can see, okay, that's that clear break of structure that we see on the 4 hour time frame. We can see that price is currently in this bit of a channel type of thing in here if you trade channels and stuff like that. So what I would actually be expecting, right, is to see price come back into around this area in here, right? Retest some of the structure in here that has been broken on the lower time frames, right? So come back into around this level, and then I would expect to see it go up from around there. If not, if it does respect this channel that it is currently sitting in, then I would expect it to keep pushing to the upside, right? Sort of playing out in this channel here until it breaks out to the upside type of thing. And then drops back down on the back of the numbers coming out later on, or if you focus on the technicals on the back of it hitting into this supply zone that you can see here, where a lot of bearish momentum stepped into the market from that point, right? So that's just something that I'm looking out for. We'll most likely go through the results of this on next week Monday's episode, right? So let's just move on to the NASDAQ really quickly. Lows up. Okay, so yesterday we did speak about the Nasdaq, and I did say one of the things that I did say was that we would expect further bullishness on this market, right? And just to be wary of this week. As you can see, the week was not filled, which is really good because overall on the lower time frames, if you look at the 4-hour time frame, for instance, that we did focus on, there was this zone that I had drawn in, I believe, on either Monday or Tuesday, and I said that we'll get first bounces from around this area here. Highest price should trade will be back into this area in here, right? So if we look at it again from the daily time frame down, you can see that price is in this bit of a channel that you've got in here as well, right? This bit of a channel in here that we've got price in. So that's something that I'm expecting to be respected. We might get a bit of a bounce to the upside and then get price trading down from around that area in there, right? So let's look at the weekly time frame overall on the higher time frames. As I have spoken about, this yellow zone in here as a zone that I would expect price to get into. Looking at the structure in here, earlier in the week, I spoke about this level specifically as the last broken level, and I would expect price to respect this level, and it has done so, right? So if the bullishness does proceed, then we can keep looking for good buying opportunities. But looking at the technicals for today, I would expect to see some sort of bearishness coming in. As you can see, there's a slow, as price got into this area, we see a slowdown of the bearishness, right? Sorry, of the bullishness. You can see the candles got a bit smaller, and now we're in a bit of a lower time frame consolidation. Let's just drop down to the 1 hour. You can see here on the 1 hour as well that we've got much less volume in these candles in here. So what I would be looking at is on the lower time frame, I would be looking for structure breaks to the downside for me to look for some selling opportunities, perhaps back into this last level in here that was actually broken, right? Sorry, this last level in here where demand basically came into this market. So that is a good thing to be looking out for today. If I drop down, let's just have a look at the 15 minutes. You can see a strong consolidation in this area in here. So we should expect perhaps an aggressive break to the upside, an aggressive break to the upside before price does turn around and come and give us something like that and trade down into around that level in there. That's just something to have a look for today. So that's it on the NASDAQ. Let's just move over to the synthetics real quick. Okay, so looking at, let's just hide that for a second. Looking at this, right? So on the weekly time frame, we spoke about this zone at the beginning of the week, and I said this is where I would expect buys to come in. If you look at the daily time frame as well, we've got this strong bounce off here. If you trade candlestick patterns, you can say this is a hammer or whatever it is. I'm really not sure because I do not trade candlestick patterns. Looking for today, I am in a couple of buys at the moment across a couple of the accounts that I trade on. As you can see on this account as well, I do have a trade running on here as well. And that's just something that I'm looking to take back into this pink zone in here, which is this previously broken structure to the downside here on the weekly. So if you look at the daily time frame for today, I would expect to see it continue to the upside. Let's just have a look at the 4 hour to see what's happening. On the 4 hour, you can see we have no significant structure breaks because that is what warrants holding trades for a longer time. Is I like to see those structure breaks, especially if I get in on the impulse entry. So this entry that I've taken down in here was purely an impulse entry, as you can see. right in here. I saw this break above this previous high, and as we had this pullback into this level of structure that was broken, I took a buy from there, looking to take it back up. I have a pretty significant stop loss on here, pretty significant take profit. That is why I've basically toned down on the lot size. Right. So looking at today, we can see that this is not a very strong push to the upside. So we can expect price to sort of pull back, perhaps maybe even to fill in half of this wick over the course of today, tomorrow, or even Sunday, before we see the continuation of that bullish momentum going into next week. So for now, I would say it's not a very good time to get in on any buys, right? Unless you're already in on buys. It wouldn't be a good time to get in on any buys unless price does come back into around this level or even break down below this low and pulls back up, then that will be something. If price does break the structure, however, then in that instance, we could look for something like a retest into the structure here. Once price has broken to the upside, and then we can look to take some buys maybe from up off here into this level and here with maybe a stop loss below this level, something to that effect, right? So obviously it is something that you would have to go down to a lower time frame and look for the best possible opportunities. Let's move on to the volatility 25-1S, and I just want to start by talking about yesterday. So yesterday I highlighted this level in here, right? We were looking at was on this specific candle in here, where we were looking at price trading up into there and trading down from there. As you can see, if you were able to get in on this, this was a beautiful trade from here. Just from here to there would have been a beautiful trade into there, right? Because it was a very medium to low risk. Even if you had gotten in like on this retest in here with a stop loss down in here, this was a beautiful maybe 1 to 2.5 or 1 to 3 trade, right? I'm not really sure what the specifics are. I didn't really take this trade because it wasn't part of my trading plan yesterday. I am focused specifically on taking sells on this market. So I'm waiting for a much deeper retracement on here for me to take some sells, right? So overall, my projections on this at the moment would be I would want to see price continue pushing to the upside, as this is the zone that I am looking to take sales off of. If I look at the 4-hour time frame, we can see, I'm just going to remove this from here. Right. On the 4-hour time frame, we can see the strong break to the downside. We can see a bit of a retracement. I did say that we had the structure that was broken here, so we could have expected price to come into the structure as well, and that has actually played out very, very well. So what I would expect today is, because price has hit a significant level, is I would expect perhaps some sort of bearishness to the downside, come back into retesting maybe some of the structure in here, right, before we see price continue back to the upside again, right? Might not even be that deep of a pullback because we do have significant levels in here as well. If we keep dropping down to a much lower time frame, perhaps drop down to 1 hour, you can see very clearly that we have some significant structure in here. We have this strong bullish push off the downside here, so we have a bit of a demand zone somewhere in here, and that has basically pushed price to the upside. Overall, currently, it is looking like a very good sell. If you look at like for the 15-minute time frame, right, because we've got this 1 hour hitting into a significant level. So if we look at the 15-minute, perhaps for some confirmations in here, you can see that we've got a strong structure break to the downside in here. We've got price trading into this level and maintaining this level as some sort of resistance. You can also call this a bit of a double top with that structure break to the downside. So it is looking like a really, really good sell at the moment. And that is one of the reasons as well that I would expect a deeper pullback today, especially since the overall momentum in this market is to the downside. So that's it from my side. Not really much more that I can share. I hope everybody's had a profitable week, and you've been able to make as much as possible. Remember, the goal is not about making as much as possible, but rather being profitable, right? Because consistent profitability leads to success. So anyway, that's it from my side. Until next time, it has been a pleasure as always to share with you guys, and I am wishing you a blessed and a profitable trading day, and I'll catch up with you guys again this time next week, Monday.